my friends, and welcome back. This is Ginny from Polly's Paper Studio, and today is day 857 of being locked in the house with a college student and cats. So I did have a meeting with the cats earlier, and we were deciding between getting out the yarn and crocheting tiny cat sweaters or making a vintage inspired sewing theme greeting card with authentic paper. And I got outvoted, as is usually the case. So today I will be sharing with you how I created this card. We're going to make it together, and maybe if we don't get out of the house anytime soon, I'll still be able to share those crochet cat sweaters. So stick with me and we'll make this together. Here's that collection from Authentique Paper. This is Stitches, has a great variety of pattern paper backgrounds along with some really beautiful cut apart journaling cards. I used one today and I've got it cut with a tag shaped die so that I could reduce the size of it and create a different shape. So here's my card base. It is 5 by 6.5 inches, side folding. I finished the inside already with some of the collection paper, and for today I'm using a pretty gray cardstock as a matting. That's just a nice neutral that's going to work well with all of these pattern papers. I picked this as my background for the base of the card, and I've clipped that so that I would have that nice border, and then I also ran the distressing tool around the edge, and that gives me a little extra texture and a little bit of interest. That also helps if you have trouble lining up your borders perfectly straight. This is a good way to get a little forgiveness out of that, because it would be difficult to tell if it were perfectly even all the way around. I'm just going to add this to my card base, and I like to have that nice crisp white border and the border also of the gray cardstock. So this is flat right on to the base of my card, and my next layer I'm going to add with a foam spacer, so it's just more of that gray, and I put that on with my double-sided adhesive tape. I'm going to also include a layer of some Tombow, and that just helps to make sure that it will stay secure. This is going to go right in the center. Now you'll notice that I only distressed the edges of the pattern paper, not the cardstock, and I think that helps to keep it from looking a little too busy. My next pattern is that gorgeous plaid, and if you know Polly's at all, you know that we love plaid, and I try to incorporate it into every project. So this is that beautiful, it's a very ivory color and a soft pink. I tattered the edge of that as well, so you can see not only are we building a lot of dimension and detail, but this is giving it a great texture as well. Now the next layer I chose not to add any border on, so I don't have that gray cardstock. I just want to start stacking some of these layers because I'm going to add a specific border here in a bit, and I didn't want it to get too busy. So this is a very cute sort of a notions page, has all of the different sewing ephemeras on there, and I just cut that to leave a good size border of the plaid, and that went straight on. I didn't put a spacer on that at all. I've got a layer here. This is part of the collection, had some measuring tapes in different colors, so I picked that pretty rose, and I added just a layer here of the double-sided adhesive tape, and I'm gonna line this up. I want to use this as my top border on this section of floral. So this is very pretty, has a soft tea rose, and I put that with some of the additional double-sided adhesive. It's going to go flat right down to the surface. This is cut so that it's going to measure out to the edge of that gray, and that will help to create a base for my embellishments. So I didn't tatter these edges. This is just going on straight just like it is. and I didn't put a border on it either. Here's that border that I mentioned earlier. So I took a piece of that rose colored measuring tape and I put a couple layers of die cut border. This is a scallop border. I cut one from the cardstock colors, so that's the gray, and then I cut one from that plaid. I stacked them up and I added them to that measuring tape image, and I think this is just a really nice thick chunky border to finish off the bottom of my card, and that is just cut to go the length of that floral. So I pulled a die cut here. This is just a pretty white die cut doily, and this is going to help neutralize some of this pattern. I'm going to put it on with some hot glue in the middle. I'm going to be very careful to, you see how this shape has a little bit of a unique edge. I don't want any of this to go over the edge because then it would become fragile and possibly get torn or bent. So I'm going to be aware of that edge when I put this down, and I'm only going to go as far as what will support that fragile end. I'm just putting this on with a bit of hot glue because that's just going to secure that, and the other layers that I add on the top will help to keep it in place. Here's that die cut I mentioned, and you can see that I have added an eyelet to the tag shape. It has a little stitched border, so that goes along with my sewing theme. And then I did put a little twine through here just to finish that tag off nicely, and I put that on foam as well, so we're going to build some more dimension. While I have this, I'm going to just bring that twine over and tuck it into the back. That way it won't become a frayed edge. I'll just put a little more Tombow on there and secure it to the card. So here is my focal image. I think that is a very sweet vintagey sewing machine. I've pulled a metal rimmed mailing tag from my stash, and I picked these up from Joann's. They're the Park Lane brand, and the pink matches perfectly, and I love that gold accent. I think pink and gold look really very beautiful together. I'm gonna just add this now before I bring in my flower arrangement because it will help to disguise that cut edge underneath. Here's my flower arrangement. This is a combination of Little Birdie Crafts. So these larger, very dimensional, bulky ones are Little Birdie Craft, and the other are from Prima. I've also included the leaves that came from the package. I don't always do that because I like to cut my own from die cuts, but these match perfectly, so that was a good choice. And then I've also included some loopy twine bows that really helps to fill in the arrangement on the side and soften up those harder edges. You see now I have plenty of room to add this because I created the arrangement off project, and then I can move it around and get it placed just where I like it. I don't want to cover any of that image, and I don't want any of it to fall off of the edge of the card because then it could become fragile. So let's put that on with hot glue again. I love the combination of the ivory here in these flowers. It really blends so beautifully with that background paper. Now you know I've got to have some pretty embellishments, and I've got these charms, so what goes better with a sewing theme than a large pair of vintagey looking scissors. These are both in silver, and I do not mind at all that there's gold on the card as well. I think that is perfectly fine. And then here's another little sewing machine, and it does have lots of beautiful details. So as I do, I'm going to hold these in place where I want them to fall when the card is finished, and then I'll just add my hot glue and lay that string into it. Then I know that they're going to be exactly where I want them to be. I'll top that edge with this bow. So this is my really reasonable ribbon. It is the light pink in wrinkle ribbon. It is absolutely beautiful. It's topped with some more of that burlap string, and then I've also got another vintage button. These had the original thread going through that attached it to the garment. And so that adds a beautiful patina of color in the center of that ribbon or that button. And I'm just gonna cover the top of those strings so I won't have any raw edges showing. While that glue is setting up, you can easily work the shape of the bow to get it exactly how you want it before it is set in place. So here is a beautiful balance now of arrangements of flowers and ribbon. I've also brought down a couple extra vintage buttons, of course, and I'm going to add them here to the bottom of my arrangement. So that is all for our vintage inspired sewing theme greeting card. This was a collection from Authentique Paper. I am not sure that it is still available to order, but if you have it in your stash, definitely use it. I will link Authentique Paper down in the description anyway, because you know they're going to have beautiful collections and you can swap out a different theme with the same design and get something really beautiful. I'm gonna leave a link as well for really reasonable ribbon so you can check out that trim, and for all our social media sites. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment. I do really enjoy reading all of your comments. If you're not already, I would love for you to subscribe. And as always, I am wishing you a happy and productive day. Bye.